Welcome back, folks, to the Stockwell Eldridge Show every Sunday, 10 a.m. here on AM 1280 The Patriot. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
And I'm Dawn Eldridge with Remax Results.
And we are happy to be back and have Stephanie Havel back here.
Good morning. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. Happy spring. Happy April. Brett Larson, Meserly & Kramer, is here. We'll introduce him right after Dawn goes over the stats because we didn't get those in the first segment. These are great stats. Every week we talk about these amount of inventory that's being eaten up by you buyers out there that are trying to actively buy homes, the amount of inventory that's available, and then the median pricing. I think it goes over, right, Dawn? Go for it.
Yep. All right. So new listings increased from this time last year, 6.3%, which is great. So they're up, this is in the Twin Cities, by the way. So we're at 1,584 new listings from this time last year. And then pending sales decreased. Shucks. 4.9% down in the Twin Cities.
What's our total number? I always
From
track
this
that
time
number.
last
Are we
year?
still in the 8,000s?
1292. Oh, that's in
No.
How many
pending.
listings?
No, we're up to 10,000 almost. So that's
All
good.
right.
We're going to
Okay.
crack
It's
9,800.
improving.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. Last week it
9,900.
was like 9,600.
So new listings are going up at a 1,500 a week, and pending sales are going up at 1,300. So we're gaining about 200 properties. So, and the median sale price increased 7% from this time last year as well, 7.6%. So it's all great in real estate. A lot of buyers, I think, don't give up. Hang in there. I'm starting for the first time seeing a little pushback from buyers on the pricing.
Oh, okay.
Or sellers just can't willy-nilly go out there and ask for the sun and the moon and the stars.
Right.
And the buyers are saying, nope, that's enough. Enough is enough. This is what we're paying. You're finally starting to see that.
Well,
I think
and the
we've
kind of what we
reached
just
that.
were talking about in the last segment is, okay, what is the house worth, though? I mean, is it going to appraise because they don't have the extra money? And if that agent is truly done, I mean, I'm sure you guys say when you list a property, you're pretty confident in that value and what the, what
We're
the appraisal
confident
is
usually in
gonna
the
come
listing value. The problem
Right.
is the
Yeah.
prices come in higher than that and the offers, and then that's where you can't control it because,
Right.
because the comps may not support it, and therefore the appraisal
Right,
may
that's
not
what I'm saying.
support
Yeah,
it.
so where the
yeah.
buyers can push back a little
So
bit.
they have to be prepared if they're paying over, and that's what yeah. So without further ado, drum roll, da-da-da-da-da-da. Meserly & Kramer, Brett Larson, welcome. Brett, tell us about yourself, where you're from maybe, a little background. Obviously, I think you're an attorney, right? No, I was kidding.
Thank you.
He's
Good
wearing
morning,
a suit
everybody.
and tie on a
Yes,
Thursday.
check us out on YouTube. He's wearing a suit and tie.
I have the uniform on, so I must
Yeah.
be right. I'm a corporate attorney with Meserly & Kramer. I'm the head of the business services group, which is corporate real estate, banking, and estate planning. My practice is primarily corporate transactions, mergers, acquisitions, corporate org and reorg strategies for small, medium, and large businesses. So originally from Grand Forks, North Dakota, came here for undergrad, and I've been here ever since.
Nice.
I was telling you a story, actually, off the air.
Yes, we want to hear this. This is
About
good.
a rental property that we actually own. My wife and I own, and we don't own it personally. We own it in an entity, which we'll talk about that strategy a little bit. We had this property on the market for sale about 2 years ago. Didn't sell, took it off the market, rented it, and we got a call about a month and a half ago from somebody who had looked at the property about 2 years ago when it was on the market,
Yep.
and put an offer in to buy it. Not even on the market, right? Full price offer based on the listing price 2 years ago, and we were happy with that. We've been hoping to sell this one, and the appraisal came back, lower than we anticipated, which obviously puts some pressure on the transaction. And
Yep.
and we're sending what we think are comps to the appraiser, and trying to work with the appraiser that we have in place right now to try to convince them that the comparables that they used aren't comparables.
Yeah.
But another part of the strategy that works in this deal and won't work in all deals, obviously, is that we're selling some personal property along with the home, some furniture and things like that. If the buyer is flexible like they are in this situation, they really want the property, we've been able to allocate part of the price at least to that sale of personal property on a note from the owner of the property or
Nice.
us.
That's
or
one
an
creative, awesome way to do it.
It is.
Are they looking to purchase it as a primary residence then, or they were going to keep it as investment?
I think they're going to keep it as an investment property.
Okay. Interesting.
I think that's great. So basically, what happens is you have let's just use round numbers. You have $100,000 property purchase price and agreed upon price. Appraisal comes in at $80,000. You're $20,000 short. Blows most deals because the seller doesn't want to come down 20 grand. Probably in most cases, the buyer may not have the extra 20 grand cash just laying around. So you can put on a second mortgage or a note on personal property. Again, contact an attorney for this type of stuff, because the lending world and things like that, there might be some rules and some restrictions that you might want to go into. But there's always ways around low appraisals or ways to work through things as long as you're creative, but you still stay above board, and I think you can do that. So
Right.
And
Staying above board.
you have parties that are agreeing on it, right? I mean,
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
And staying above board is the important thing.
Right.
We don't want to do a silent second mortgage. We don't want to have, run into a problem with the primary lender, right?
Yep.
Which is why it was important in this case that we weren't offering a second mortgage or we aren't asking for a second mortgage on the property.
Right.
We were the only collateral for the loan, and this is the risk, I guess, right, for the seller, is the personal property, the furniture.
Yeah.
So if they don't pay, I mean, I'm collecting.
You're going to go and get repo the
repoing
furniture.
a couch. Yeah, not a great deal.
Well, and I was
So
going to say,
so that's on it's more of a trust deal too, as long as the person's good and you trust that that's going to happen, and you
Right.
have it, and so that's one way to make it happen. Because otherwise, what's your alternative, Brett? Is to not sell it to them or take a pretty big haircut, right?
Right, reduce
I
the
mean-
purchase price if you aren't successful in convincing the appraiser, right, that the comps that they used aren't valid comps.
It's usually not advisable.
I
I've
was
done
gonna-
this. Don't call the appraiser
Yeah,
an idiot.
I was-
Don't get anywhere.
well, yeah, no, is that what you call them on the show? Well, I think I was going to say
Oh, boy.
the compliance person in me is coming out, and you just want to be cautious in calling the appraiser because there's something called, and we see this unfortunately a lot. It's called undue influence.
Right.
And sometimes it comes from the real estate agent. We've seen it on refinances where the homeowner, feels that the value of their home is more, and calling the appraiser and saying, and
So then what happens?
They,
the
they don't
appraiser
like that.
can say, "Hey, I'm calling you out on undue influence."
Yeah, the appraiser will report it and say, what happened. So we've had this situation
Well,
where
if it's a threat, I understand. But is that what you're trying to say? Is it someone's,
no, not
threatening?
necessarily a threat, but it's undue influence, meaning they're trying to influence the appraiser's value to work in their favor. So by saying,
That's
hey,
called normal. That's called being real. That's being real.
well, that's
right?
why.
I mean,
well, no,
just
but
kidding.
no. My point is, like, again, you just want to be cautious how you're going about it. As I
That's-
guess is what I'm trying to say is because we've had that situation, and it really is the appraiser's call. If he calls it in undue influence, we put a halt on it. There's an internal investigation on it, and oftentimes we may have to get a new appraisal.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Right.
And that might kill the deal in itself, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes agents, I get it, they're passionate, but they might be inappropriate in their actions and what they're providing and the things that they're saying. And if the appraiser feels that they are trying to influence them in an inappropriate or undue influence on the value and
Oh,
the
wow.
property. So you're right. I get what you're doing because you do want to provide the information because as you mentioned, Dawn, they may not always be familiar exactly with that area,
Yep.
and again, if there's uniqueness to certain properties and where you came up with that value, but just be cautious in your approach and how you go to it. So it's,
Right.
Yeah.
I usually explain, so I've worked with appraisers before as well when
Right.
the property wasn't appraised. And I've actually had some appraisers call me and ask me where I got comps because they couldn't find them.
Right. And again, we're all in
Yep.
this together. And I think what's nice
And that was nice.
that we have at Wells Fargo is we have an internal review department. I don't know if a lot of lenders do, but all of our appraisers come in and go through an internal review because we want to make sure too as well that, it's a solid appraisal, the value, if it is overbid or, and if we do have questions, sometimes we can dispute it. We can go back to
Yeah.
that appraiser and say, hey, why did you not use these comps or why
Yep.
did, and so forth. So
Yeah,
we
and
want to
I've
try
worked
to.
with Wells Fargo on those before, and
Yeah.
it was a great experience.
Right.
And I agree. A lot of lenders won't.
They don't really
go
have
that
a
extra
choice.
mile.
Yeah, they're a smaller company and
Yep.
they're just, hey, it is what it is.
So,
Yeah.
Brett, did it close?
Not yet.
But the terms of this have all been laid out and everybody's in agreement. It
been
sounds like
agreed upon.
already.
Yep.
Nice. So that's great.
Yeah.
So that's a success story on coming around or working through a situation where you have an appraisal issue that you can be creative, come up with a viable solution that is a win-win for all parties that get what they want. It's a little sacrifice on your end, a little more risk on your end, but it's better than the alternatives.
Right.
Right.
Better than
So-
better than just taking the haircut, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you had said too, made a comment, Brett, about how you purchased your home or how you have it set up. Like you don't just have it for you and your wife. You have it set up in a LLC or an S corp, or how do you have it set up?
Right. So we have a number of clients who are now getting into a buy and hold strategy, right, with either residential or commercial real estate. They're in retirement or they're getting closer to retirement, and they're trying to set up sort of a passive income stream. And many of them view this as a way to do that, right, with either residential rental property, multifamily, or individual homes, or commercial. And the first question for me in that setting from the client is always, well, how do I want to own this property, right? And do I want to own it in my own name? Do I want to own it in an entity? And then when do I need to make that decision, and when do I need to set up that entity, right? Typically, the best way to hold real estate is through an LLC taxed as a partnership. With a limited liability company, you can choose. Is it going to be taxed as a partnership? Is it going to be, if it's a single member, is it going to be just a flow through, a disregarded entity altogether from a tax perspective? Or is it going to be taxed as a corporation?
Taxed as a partnership?
Now, are you talking?
Is that what you said?
That's right.
Okay.
Brett, as far as if it's only for investment property, or I mean, so you wouldn't do your primary residence, my home, I wouldn't want in an LLC.
That's right.
You're saying, right?
No, I wouldn't put your home in an LLC, and there are tax reasons for that, and then there are also banking reasons for that, right?
So you're talking investment property specifically.
We're talking about
okay,
investment
I just want to make
properties,
sure,
right?
yeah, we were clear on that.
If we buy your homestead, for instance, right, you want to hold that in your own name for a number of reasons. Some of them are tax related. Some of them are related to the interest rates that you're going to be able to get through a primary home loan.
All right, great.
We're going to
So
listen to more of this when we come back.
I'm just emailing my accountant right now. LLC taxed as a partnership.
That's right.
I want to make sure I'm set up. All right, stay tuned, folks.
Feels so good, I'm gonna sing it one more time.